All right. Good morning, everyone. My goodness, what a week, huh? Snowstorms, dust storms, windstorms, 80 degrees, 29 degrees. My goodness, the rest of the world must be so boring. So we live here in a very exciting place. Very nice to be here with you all today, to practice with each and every one of you. And I also made a little note. I wanted to thank all the folks that came to our big full moon celebration Thursday night. We created a giant flower mandala, filled it with love and with chanting, and just allowed this small point in the universe to just radiate out love and acceptance, clarity. And also, of course, happy St. Patrick's Day for all of our folks of Irish origins, so to speak. Of course, as they say on St. Patty's Day, everyone's Irish, right? And also, we had a wonderful rally Saturday here. I spoke with some members of the community. I was unable to come, but some members of the community came, and it was very wholesome. It was not, anything. It wasn't about anger, hatred towards anyone. It was a beautiful rally put on by the Democratic Committee here in the Kansas City area, and they really just explored lots of different ways. Different opportunities and organizations for all of us to enable our voices to be heard. And so Temple Buddhist Center and Unity Temple plan on providing space for more communities like that want to help us find our voices and opportunities to express that. So again, thank you to all those folks. So I have actually mentioned to people within the Sangha as I talked to them during the week and had discussions, and I've mentioned this many times, how exactly 1 month after I was asked to direct Temple Buddhist Center, I had this realization that 54 years of living was preparing me for this. I had no idea until all of a sudden, after a month of being with the community and doing this, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what was the song from the Barbie movie? This is what I was made for, And the understanding that thousands of experiences have touched me profoundly, have gifted me with new ways of seeing, and returned me again and again to a curiosity about the experiencer. So when we stop looking with 100% focus at and for the things in this world and begin to cultivate where the sight itself is coming from, then we embark on the path of self-inquiry. Buddhism is a path of self-inquiry and self-discipline. And so some examples of these thousands of experiences that all of a sudden just sort of all came together, those experiences that were tremendously joyous and those that were tremendously painful, they all came together in this realization that, yes, it is these experiences that have always been my teacher. But I was so busy looking outside of myself and blame and judgments and villains and victims that I could never find those deep and important, lasting teachings that were preparing me for this. So some examples of those experiences, I want to share just a couple with you. For example, the realization that moon bows exist. I know you're going, what's he talking about? Yes, I was actually walking through Geyser Basin in Yellowstone Park at midnight, on a full moon. And one of the geysers erupted, and there in all of its glory was a moonbow. I had no idea these even existed. And there was another time, and in fact, Rochelle was with me. We were actually in Omaha, and I was playing guitar in a dorm lobby. It was on a university campus, and I was playing guitar in the lobby, and we were just kind of jamming and rehearsing, getting ready, when a young deaf girl sat down next to me, reached up, placed her hand on my guitar, and began swaying back and forth. And it completely blew my mind because I'd never had anyone experience my music that way before. And she was completely absorbed in the music. And a very painful relationship experience triggered the darkest point in my life. And it turned out to be the same experience that brought the brightest point in my life. And the countless times that my teacher or a Dharma teaching made me see how I was limiting myself or how I was caught up and believing every little thought that happened to just pop up. Every thought was louder and more important than the next, and I was caught up in this roller coaster. These things touched me profoundly and or shifted my perspective in a major way. You see, it wasn't about anyone being wrong or anyone being right. It wasn't about having a good experience or having a bad experience or anything special. And it wasn't about quantifying or qualifying anything in any way. It was about embodying the fact that all possibilities exist. They have always existed. They exist now. It is unending. Rainbows at midnight, deaf people hearing, great joy born of great pain, or knowing that I don't know. The problem with any talk of miracles is that they usually imply that there's not one happening right now. So, how do we realize that all possibilities exist? By bringing awareness to when they have ceased. That's how we do it. It's so funny because in Buddhism, they never seem to give you a straight answer. It's always everything that it's not. Leaving you going, okay. So the invitation this week is to cultivate awareness as to when we have collapsed down onto a single belief, when we have collapsed down onto a single outcome, a single course of action. This is called attachment. This is what the Buddha was talking about. It's not the literal clinging to a mocha frappuccino or clinging to a job or a relationship, although that is part of it, but it's much more subtle than that. It's that moment when all of the possibilities have ceased and we feel like there's only one way or one course of action or one possible solution. And so we have had years to practice this collapsing down onto one thing. And so cultivating awareness, which is what we do every time we take the noble one seat and commit to 20 minutes of just being, opening to all of life in all of its forms, in everything that unfolds before us and shows up. This is what we're practicing. This is how we are training the mind. And so as we cultivate awareness, we open and expand our perspective in such a way that experience becomes our teacher and our practice becomes our life. I myself had this very experience this week. Something happened midweek which made me very, very angry. So much so that I found myself in a very small box. The world became incredibly tiny, along with accompanying thoughts that this emotion generated. It made it seem like there was no solution, and it gave form to the concept of villain and victim. Solidified it. Oh, now my hatred has something to fixate on. And there's this feedback loop that started up, and you get caught in this little box with all this stuff foaming around inside of there. And it gave form to villain and victim. And of course, this only exasperated the loop. But even though it was intense, the practice seemed to always keep at least one door cracked open just slightly. And so when I turned to a member of the Sangha, thanks, Liz, she provided a very casual solution. And so here I was spinning out of control, trapped in my little box, and she's like, oh, well, we'll just blah, blah. And in that moment, upon hearing this, the release of anger energy and all of the stories that were bouncing around inside my noggin, the release of all of that was instantaneous. Like all of the doors suddenly burst open at once. There was ventilation. There was expansion. Everything changed on a dime. You see, awareness unties every knot that we have. In the Buddhist texts, there are 3 qualities to this awareness, and they offer us a way to train. Yes, we train, not just every day, every moment. And experience constantly provides us new obstacle courses in which to train, strengthening us every minute. It's amazing. You give a kitten a little ball of yarn, and they will instantly start to train. They don't realize that they're training. They think that they're just playing, but they are expertly training all of their skills to defend themselves or to capture food. We are the same way. We train on the cushion. We sit and we practice just being, becoming familiar with the nature of our mind, opening up so many possibilities. Because the mind wants to collapse down on just one. That's what it's been doing for many years. So our attention keeps fixating on elements in the foreground. Maybe we have contacted a feeling or a sensation or an emotion or an idea or a course of action, and we've collapsed down onto that. But our practice helps us to keep inquiring, keep asking, who is feeling this? We keep asking, who is aware of this? And the more we ask, the less we find to land on. Eventually, the questions bring us into silence. There are no more backward steps. We cannot answer any longer. And that's when the background comes more into focus. Because whatever this thing is that was right here in front of us, what we always know is whatever the thing is never the thing. And so suddenly this becomes more perforated, becomes more or less dense, actually, and the background becomes more in view, comes into focus, and the discovery of no thing, of nothing, according to the Tibetan teachings, is the supreme seeing. It reveals the first basic quality of awareness, and it is that of emptiness, or an openness, a vast openness, helping us to see that we have collapsed down onto the thing that is in front of you. One of our other teachers here at TBC, Robert, likes to do the little experiment. He says, okay, hold up your hand. All right, yeah, now focus on your hand. Okay, good. Now, can you look past it? And it's a fun little exercise. And it can bring form to what I'm talking about right now, where the foreground suddenly becomes just translucent and we open to all the possibilities. And so awareness, you see, is devoid of any form. Awareness is devoid of any boundary, any center. Awareness has no owner or inherent self. Awareness is pure, permeates all things. The awareness coming through Kate is the same awareness coming through Fred. The awareness coming through Carl is the same awareness coming through Doug. This is what makes us one. The awareness does not know conservative or liberal. The awareness could care less about gay, straight, tall, short, heavy, old, young. None of those things matter. There is only awareness. And that's who we are. Yet our investigation into awareness also reveals that while empty of thingness or form, awareness is still alive with a kind of wakefulness, isn't it? We wake up to this awareness of things, and yet it is no thing. Awareness is alive, a luminosity, if you will, of continual knowing. Rumi puts it this way: you are gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. Sounds, shapes, colors, and sensations in the body are spontaneously recognized. The entire river of constant experience is received and known by awareness. This is the second basic quality of awareness, and that is this kind of cognizance, this knowing, this awakeness, which, by the way, has nothing whatsoever to do with this term woke that people are throwing around all the time. Nothing to do with that at all. I'm talking about this awareness that we know, not conceptually know, but we just know, without thoughts, without concepts. If we let go and rest, which is what we're doing in meditation, if we let go and rest in this wakeful openness, we discover how awareness now relates to form. And that form might be the body, could be thoughts, could be sensations and emotions. When anything comes to mind, a person, a situation, an emotion, the spontaneous response, if you are aware in a fraction of a second, if you are aware, the spontaneous response is a warmth or a tenderness. Awareness does not know hate. Awareness does not know separation or division. It knows only warmth and love. Some of my friends on the unity side once talked about seeing something through God's eyes. It's like that. There is no division, separation. There's no quantifying. There's no qualifying. It is pure awareness. This is the third quality of awareness, the expression of unconditional love and compassion. This is the unconfined capacity of awareness, and it includes joy, appreciation, and the many other qualities of the heart. I was mentioning Thursday night at our full moon celebration as we were chanting and creating a flower mandala and doing dances of universal peace. One of the things that came through me was this statement that during a time when facts no longer matter, when logic and reason no longer seem to be present, all that is left is the language of the heart. And that is all that is needed. The kids of the 60s knew this. They intuited it. It might not have been conceptual, but it was love, it was dance, it was color, it was celebration, it was ritual, it was ceremony that counteracted all of the head stuff going on, all of the separation and division, all of the egoic concepts that were creating such a nightmare for people. It is love that is unifying. It is love that is the answer. Love doesn't speak in concepts and ideas. It speaks silently. It speaks in ritual, in celebration, in colors, in dance, in poetry, in song, in being together. When Siddhartha Gautama, the original Buddha, when Siddhartha looked into his own mind, he realized the beauty and the goodness of his essential nature and was free. The three fundamental qualities that I spoke of this morning, this openness, this emptiness, the wakefulness, and love, they are always here. They are always with us. They are always accessible, unless we collapse down onto only one possibility, unless we collapse down onto only one story, one concept, one way of being, one possible outcome, then you're right. There is only one. With practice, we too can realize this wakeful, tender awareness. It is more truly who we are than any story we have been generating about ourselves. That is, again, the collapsing down. Rather than a human on a spiritual path, we are the universe discovering itself through a human incarnation. As we come to understand and trust this, our life fills with increasing grace and all the doors open, and all possibilities exist. I'd like to conclude with this poem by one of my favorite authors, poets, Mark Nepo. If an empty box is torn apart, the air inside still joins all the rest. If a heart is shattered, the love inside still coats the stars. How much fear we know depends on whether we live as something torn apart or as the air released. How much pain turns to suffering depends on whether we live as something shattered or as the love about to join. We can live as a shell waiting to crack or as the dove waking to its song. Thank you.